if I'm writing an equation that is a parallel line, okay, the first thing I want to do is make sure that this line is in y equals mx plus b form. Is it? Yes. What's the slope? 1. Okay, so slope is 1. Okay, and then what? What's the 1 from? Yes. Okay, and then these are x1, y1s. And then we're going to plug into our point slope formula. Okay. All right, so we're going to get y minus 2 equals 1 times x minus 2. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to distribute, okay, because I want you to get in the habit of putting it into the y equals mx plus b form. Distribute. That's 1x minus 2. So y minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And so y is going to equal x. This cancels out as well because negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Ta-da! Parallel line. Okay. On this next one, is that in y equals mx plus b form? No. So we're going to rewrite this guy. We're going to move the 3x to the other side by subtracting. Good Lord. Negative y equals negative 3x plus 5. We're going to divide everything by negative 1 because we're going to get rid of that negative. So y is going to equal 3x minus 5. Now, what's your slope? 3. Okay. So then we're going to plug in. So y minus negative 7, that'll make that plus, equals 3 times x minus 1. I'm going to distribute. And then I'm going to move that 7 to the other side by subtracting. So y is going to equal 3x minus 10. Thank you. Questions? Now, perpendicular is the exact same thing. The only difference is when you take your slope, you're going to flip it and change the sign. Okay, so can you go ahead and write for 7 and 8 the equation that is perpendicular? So again, you flip and change the sign on the slope. Now you're just going to plug into the point slope formula. Can you take a second? Can you try that? Check your work. So you should have gotten y minus 5 is equal to 1/4 times x minus 3. Gucci? Now, if you distributed, you would have gotten 1/4 x minus 3/4 y minus 5. We're going to add 5 to the other side. When we do that, we're going to get y equals 1/4 x plus 17/4. Okay, now if you put that in decimal form, that's okay. That's not that big of a deal. Because x minus x1 in the original formula, that's 3 positive, so minus 3. Good. Okay. Now on 8, you are rewriting this into y equals mx plus b first before you start doing some crazy stuff. So when I do this, I'm going to change this to y equals mx plus b. So 2x plus y equals 6. I'm going to subtract 2x. And that's going to give me y equals negative 2x plus 6. Now my slope is negative 2, but we're making it perpendicular. So what are we going to do? Flip and make it positive, right? So that's going to be 1/2 for our slope. Okay, now we're going to plug into our point slope formula. Sorry, that's a little messy. Y minus 4 equals 1/2 times x minus 2. Distribute. Add. It's going down here. Y equals 1/2 x plus 3. 1/2 x plus 3. Let's talk through the parallel one, and then I'll give you a second to work on the perpendicular. But remember, you got to rewrite this guy in y equals mx plus b form. So it's 2x plus 4y equals 6. We move the 2x to the other side. Do not combine these two things together. Don't make that mistake. When you move this 2x to the other side, probably put that in the front so that you don't mix up numbers. Okay. Then we're going to divide by 4. So y is going to equal, this can simplify, right? Okay, all of this junk is divisible by 2. Okay, so I'm going to get -1/2 x plus 3/2. Okay, here is my slope. Now I'm going to plug into point slope formula. Okay, so y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So instead of putting m, we're going to put -1/2. Instead of putting x1, we're going to put 1. And instead of putting y1, we're going to put 6. That's how we plug in. I'm going to distribute. And that's going to give me -1/2 x plus 1/2 y minus 6. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Ooh, Lord. This is going to give me y equals -1/2 x plus 6.5. Or you could have written that out in fraction form. That's okay too. Did you get 6.5 on the last part? Oh, that's good. Okay, cool. All right, questions on that? For perpendicular, you're going to take -1/2 and you're going to turn it into 2. And you're going to do the exact same thing. Okay? You're going to do the exact same thing, but you just changed the slope. Okay, so this is going to give me y minus 6 equals 2 times x minus 1. I'm going to distribute. I'm going to add 6. Ta-da! Okay, I still see. I left these in point slope form. Come on, let's go. Because we got notes that we got to do. Okay, so I left these in point slope form. Okay, so that way you could see the difference between the two. So you got parallel, you got perpendicular. Okay, look at the slopes. That's how you tell if it's parallel or if it's perpendicular. Parallel has this slope is going to be the same as the original. Perpendicular is going to have the negative reciprocal. Okay, if the slope is already negative and you're writing the perpendicular line, then that's going to be a positive slope. Does that make sense? The opposite sign of whatever the slope is. Yes? So you take 2, which is 2/1, you flip it, and you switch the sign. That's it. Yeah, and you plug in x1 and y1, just like what you do for parallel. Yeah. Okay. For this mastery check, you can leave it in point slope form. I'll take that. Okay. If you want to keep going just to practice it, that's okay too. Question? What was it? Do you want me to distribute? Okay. So it's going to give me 2x minus 4 equals y minus 3. Add that, y equals 2x minus 1. Over here, -1/2 x plus 1. So it's going to give me y equals -1/2 x plus 4. Ta-da. Okay, at the top of your paper, you need to write this formula. We're going to say the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. This is what we call the distance formula. It finds the distance between 2 points. Write down on your paper. Now, on number 13, we could find the distance between those 2 points because it's a vertical line. Okay, so with that being said, if we found the distance, it would be 5. Now, that doesn't work for like a line that's not vertical or horizontal. So this line over here, we need to establish the 2 points at the end, and then we're going to plug it into the formula. Okay. So this point right here is 2, 2. And this point right here is 5, -5. Your farthest left point is going to be your x1, y1. Your farthest right is going to be your x2, y2. So now that we have our 2 points, all we're going to do is plug in. So this is going to give us the square root of x2, which is 5, minus 2 squared, plus -5 minus 2 squared. Take your calculator, type that junk in. All right, so you should have gotten the square root of 58. Is that what you got? Let's try this again. So 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. -5 minus 2 is 7. Squared is 49. So 9 plus 49 is 58. So make sure that you type this in correctly. If you didn't, then you're going to get something weird. Oh, because you multiplied. You got to put addition in between. Addition in between. Yeah. Okay. Most people mess up on either plugging it in or typing it into your calculator. Okay. Can you try number 15? So identify those 2 points. Okay. And plug them into the distance formula. Now, I know that we can count number 15, but go ahead and try it using the distance formula so that you can check yourself. Okay. I got 6. Is that what you got? I got 6. Yes. Yes, no, maybe. Okay. All right. We're going to come back to this and kind of practice it, but I do want to hit the other topic that we have. Okay, so don't put the sheet away. Just look at the other one, though, that we got. It looks like this guy. Yeah. Okay, this you remember from probably last year, if not the year before. Okay, this is the thing that everybody complains about on TikTok. They're like, I don't know what this is, but man, I know the Pythagorean theorem. Yes, okay. It is my job to teach you the Pythagorean theorem. You're welcome. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. We got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is how you find the side length of a right triangle. Okay, you're going to use this in geometry next year. Okay, so learn it now. You're also going to use it in Algebra 2. In Algebra 2, you actually prove why it works. Okay, so your side lengths are going to be your A and your B. Your hypotenuse, which is the longest side, is always going to be your C. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you assign to be A and B, though, except your hypotenuse has to be C. So we're going to plug into our equation. So we've got 7 squared plus 7 squared equals x squared. And 7 squared is 49. So we're going to do 49 plus 49 equals x squared. 49 plus 49 is going to give us 98. And then we're going to take the square root of that. And you take the square root of 98, what do you get? Ta-da! That's it. Okay. Now, what you do, like, why do you need this? Because it helps you find the area and the perimeter of triangles. Okay. If you ever plan on becoming a kitchen designer, you will use the Pythagorean theorem all the time. Okay. I know it's like a total. It doesn't relate to taxes, not at all. Like, can I teach you how to do your taxes? Absolutely. Has this have anything to do? No. Because they say that they never use this in real life, which for most jobs, no, you're not. You're not going to use it. But you might use some formula that you plug in, or for instance, like my mom is a kitchen designer or was a kitchen designer. This is what she did all day. Like all day, you know. But people would complain about that you didn't learn real life math in high school, but they learned all this useless information. That's what they're complaining about. However, if you take advanced financial algebra, you learn all that math. Fun fact. Okay, let's try number 2. So we've got 13 is going to be our C. Okay, our side is going to be A. The other side is going to be B. So we've got 6 squared plus x squared equals 13 squared. So this one's a little different because we're not solving for the hypotenuse, we're solving for its side. So we're going to square everything. So that's going to be 36 plus x squared equals 169. I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. And that's going to give me 133. I'm going to take the square root. And so x is going to equal square root of 133. You can't simplify square root of 133. If you are able to, then yes. But you can't. Now, I'm going to show you a trick that I just found out the other day. So if you have one of these types of formulas, let's see if I can spell it. Desmos state calculator. Okay, there is a difference between your regular Desmos and the testing one. Remember, a lot of it leaves off like the stat stuff. But let's say you come in here and you say, what was our A value for that guy? 6. What was B? And then what was C? Okay. And then if I type A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Zoom out. Where it crosses, that's our answer. How do you know it's not the other? It gives you the exact same number. It just gives you a negative version. So I didn't have to do any math. There it is. Okay. That also works for quadratic formula. Okay. So for quadratic formula, that's back when we learned quadratic. It actually solves it for you. We got to get rid of this guy. But it actually solves it for you. I think it's this number right here. Okay. Actually, x equals. Yeah. Okay. So Desmos does a lot more than just, hey, plug in some rando numbers. Okay. Going back to that worksheet, go ahead and try number 3. Go ahead and try number 3. All right, I got square root of 128, which can that be simplified? To what? 6 root 2. Okay, I bet. All right. What? 8 root 2. I think that's right. Because I would have again 64 times 2. Now, why do we need this? Like, what's the point? Because you've already learned this back in 8th grade. The questions that you're going to see on your EOC are going to be like this. They're going to say, find the perimeter. What's the word? Like, perimeter, what does that mean? All the sides. Add up all the sides, right? So if we added 12 plus 4 plus 8 square root of 2. What's 12 plus 4? 16. And then you have plus 8 root 2. You can't combine these two. Okay, because that root doesn't add to just normal numbers. Area is another problem that you might have. Okay, throwback to like 6th grade where you learned that area was 1/2 base times height for triangles and only right triangles. Okay, so in order to do this, you're going to say 1/2 times the base, which is 4, times the height, which we just found. So if we simplify that, I'm sorry, it's so far down at the bottom. That would give me 16 root 2. Okay, so if I'm finding this side length, This is A, this is B, this is C. C is always the hypotenuse. These don't matter which one you choose. So 2 squared plus x squared equals square root of 11 squared. 2 squared is 4. X squared. When you square a square root, those symbols cancel and you get 11. I'm going to subtract 4. And so x squared is going to equal 7. I take the square root, x equals square root of 7. Now, to find the perimeter, I'm going to add up all the sides. So that's going to be square root of 11 plus the square root of 7 plus this plus 2. I can't combine anything because none of them share the same like radical. Okay, area is 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 times 2 times the square root of 7. When I plug that into my calculator, I get the square root of 7. Which part? This part? So 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1 times the square root of 7 is square root of 7. Type this straight in to your calculator. Questions on that? Okay. You are given a formula on your EOC. It looks like this. Okay, formula sheet. They give you slope formula, slope intercept, point slope, standard form, arithmetic, exponential. They give you MAD formula, which I know this is a little weird. Okay, they give you compound interest. They give you midpoint. They give you distance, which is what we talked about. They give you the quadratic formula. They give you outlier, but it's in word form. Yeah, but that's the formula. Okay, so it's the same thing that I gave you on your test and your mastery check. Okay, so definitely want to make sure that you utilize that Algebra 1 formula sheet. Don't not look at it. That would be bad. Okay, we already kind of talked about the EOC calculator. I didn't mean to close that one. Okay, remember on here, it doesn't have all the features of the normal one. So if you go to functions and you come down here, it does standard deviation and it does mean, it does all that junk. See if it does. Yeah. Okay, I still think it does this thing. Okay, but you've got to know how that works. Okay. I think that's all. Okay, so just keep that in mind that not all the functions actually work on there. Okay, sometimes you're gonna have to do it by hand. I don't think I saw MAD on here. Did y'all see it? No, it's not there. So MAD is not on here. You have to do that one by hand. Do you remember how to do that? You find the mean, then you find the difference, then you find the absolute value of those, you add them all up, and then divide by how many numbers there are. Okay. All right, go ahead and take out your EOC review packet. Your EOC is on Thursday and Friday. Be here Thursday and Friday. Please don't miss those 2 days. All right, so on 44, consider the function for the cell duplication. The cell duplicates every minute, okay? What do the 75 and the 2 represent in relation to the duplication of these 2 cells? What does the 75 represent? The initial, okay? So we can go ahead and get rid of C and D. What about the 2? How it's doubling. So the answer is A. Okay, that took us less than 30 seconds. Boom, we're moving on to the next question, okay? All right, 45. Candace has a savings account. Total amount of money in dollars in the account in the relation to the time. In years since Candace made her first deposit can be described as this equation. Move each piece of the equation into the table that best describes it. So which one is the initial amount? Yep. And then what's the growth factor? No. 1 plus 0.04. Okay, what about time, which is at T, and then your rate? Okay, so growth factor, they like to trip you all up with factor versus rate. Rate is the percentage. The factor is 1 plus whatever that percentage is. Does that make sense? Okay. On 46, create an expression that can be determined the number of employees working for the business, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So we're going to take our initial, and then we got to find our rate. How do we find our rate from a table? Second divided by first. Somebody type that in their calculator. Tell me what you get. Raised to the x. Now, you always want to go back and check that your work actually worked out. So if I plugged 1 into this equation, what would I get? You would get 800. Is that what 1 is in the table? No. So that's why we've got to put an x minus 1. Because if we put the minus 1, then that gives us 640. Does that make sense? Yep. You can always check yourself when you're doing this kind of stuff. There's no reason to get these questions wrong. Okay? All right, on the next one, it says a function is given in this table. Which equation represents the function in the table? So when you have these, you're going to take the number 0, you're going to plug it in for all 4 of these equations, and you're going to see if you get 24. And then if that works, then you're going to plug in 1, and you're going to see if you get 36. And you're trying to find which one works for this table. And it has to work for all those numbers. So if I plug 0 into this one, I get 24. If I plug 0 into this one, I get 16. I can go ahead and mark that one off. If I plug 0 into here, I get 12. If I plug 0 into this one, I get 12. Already it's A. Okay? And again, didn't have to do a whole lot of math. Okay, on this next one, you're taking this number, plugging it in to see if you get this number. You're taking this number, plugging it in to see if you get this number. You're going to try it for all 4 of those equations. Okay? Or you can graph all 4 of these equations. Okay? And see which one matches up with this graph. Okay? So what I'd like for you to do is go ahead and take a moment. I want you to do 48, 49, and 50. And then we're going to check our work. 48, 49, and 50.